Wow. Just wow. Phil, buddy, you sure you want to be making a statement like this? If Xbox does not hit 100 million subs, Xbox will exit the gaming business? Now look, I know this was during the FTC case, and then after that, the whole Xbox leaked documents moment shows that they actually have a plan to hit this goal. However, still, to make a statement like, hey, we're going to exit the gaming business / make a different decision within the business, by the way, direct quotes from him, is pretty bold, not gonna lie. So the question is, can this be done? Charts like this that were leaked are meant for board members and how plans hope to succeed. But with Game Pass numbers on consoles already stagnant, can cloud and PC pick up the slack? Especially when PC Game Pass is already a thing. We got a lot to talk about here, folks. Hey everyone, Tallen here at Direct Gaming, and we are back talking about Xbox and what the heck is going on. I always enjoy doing these discussion videos with you and want all of your personal thoughts down below in the comments. Also, if you enjoy the video, a like and a sub to the channel would help us out a ton, plus it's free. All right, let's get started. Now, a quick recap on the history of consoles here. If you look at sales numbers for last gen and this gen, then it's pretty easy to see that the clear winner is the Nintendo Switch, which holds a lead at around 125 million units sold, with the PS4 right behind at around 117 million. And way in the back is Xbox One with 51 million. Move on up to the current generation, and Nintendo is still going strong since they didn't change anything from the Switch, and the PS5 sits at around 42 million, while the Series S and X is around 21 million. Yes, obviously everyone was hit with a supply chain back in 2020, but I digress. Now, while Xbox may be behind on both of just simply the consoles themselves, the years with the original Xbox and 360 were really good and a good solid base. I mean, heck, they beat Nintendo's Wii U and GameCube, so if Nintendo can bounce back from this, then surely Xbox can as well, right? It's okay to have a couple of off years, or I guess 8 or 9, give or take, but regardless, they can bounce back, right? Now, obviously, the answer is yes. I mean, you don't spend $69 billion on Activision just to give it up in 7 years, unless you're playing 4D chess, I guess? I'm not really sure on that one. So why would Phil make a comment about dipping out of the console space? Surely Microsoft wouldn't cut that division out. Yes, I know they're a business and require profits to keep funding them, but with all of the subs to Game Pass, people buying their consoles, then things should be okay, right? Just need to change and tweak a few things and everything should be handy dandy. Or is Microsoft saying, hey, you've been here since 2014, Phil, we need some results now? Well, the way I look at it, there's 2 reasons why Phil would even say something like this. Number 1, to help sway the court cases to his side so that they can purchase Activision Blizzard, which as of right now, which is September 25th, 2023, seems to be all but finished and should be going through in less than a month or so. Or number 2, Microsoft is not happy with how Xbox has been doing and wants some results by 2030. Hence why he said that, and we have the Path to Leadership document showing their plans. But if this is the case, why would Microsoft then give them $69 billion to buy Activision? Either way, again, I digress. If we look at the graph mentioned before, the plan seems to be for about 2030, or at least the physical year of 2030. They're leaning heavy into their subscription service, aka Game Pass. However, if you've been listening to the news, watching YouTube videos, or anything like that, then you know that the Game Pass subscriptions have actually kind of leveled out at around 35 million. And based on their own numbers, does not seem to hit their goals. Oh, these goals you might be asking yourself? Yeah, over 100 million. So how do you get 70 million new subs in 7 years during a time when consumers are canceling subscription services, just like streaming ones, and the quote-unquote gamer side of things has leveled out? Well, the plan seems to be focusing on cloud-first gamers, where you can play games anywhere without the need of a console / PC. They mention smart TVs, streaming stick apps, low-end PCs, and limited mobile only, whatever that could mean. This requires 2 things though. A, to have a good product to market to these consumers, and to obviously continue to improve it as time goes forward. So, does Xbox have that? Well, they definitely have a good product to market to new consumers who want to potentially get into gaming but don't have the money to maybe buy a console, or they simply have a TV already. Though one point here that could be a little tricky already is the fact that if you get somebody to sign up on your smart TV and subscribe, you're going to need to find a way to convince them to go buy a controller to actually play it. One thing that streaming and some of these other services have is that you simply download the app, or the app is downloaded, you subscribe, and you use your TV remote to access it. You can't really play games on a TV remote. I mean, I guess you could, but maybe not the best thing to do. So you've got to convince the new subs coming in to also go buy a controller. Not too crazy, but still something they need to think about. Then they have to make the product look really good so the consumer will continue to stay subscribed as well. The other key to this is also keeping those subscribers around longer and longer. This means the games have to be really good, which unfortunately Xbox has had some ups and downs. On one hand, you have a ton of great indie games and some of the older third-party games that maybe somebody was playing games back in the day, dipped out for college or work, and now they want to come back to it and they're like, oh, I remember this. So some of those third-party games are really good. Plus, it's at a great price per month, but it could be lacking at the same time, though, some of those first-party games. Of course, we already know that this is due to COVID and also due to delays and everything like that. That's hit the entire gaming industry. That's not just Xbox. However, now with inflation being pretty high and the average consumer not being able to subscribe to multiple subscriptions, there is even more pressure on Xbox now. So that means more exclusives you can't get anywhere else, right? That's how every streaming service does it. That's how other services do. Make something unique, make something that you can only get here, and hope for the best, basically. However, if those exclusives are not great straight out of the door, though, or they are only like one every 6 months, give or take, then people are more than likely going to drop the service. Heck, we've been seeing this for quite a while now, though, and it's pretty normal across many subscription services. This isn't just Xboxes. You simply sign up, you get what you need out of the service, and then you cancel it. And then eventually when something comes back that you want again, you do the same thing over and over again. And Xbox was extremely easy to do, especially with that $1 sale that they had. However, that's not really a thing anymore. Going back to talking about exclusives for a second, Xbox has had kind of a rough start, unfortunately, in this current generation. First, we had a lot of stuff delayed, like we mentioned beforehand. Then we had something like Redfall come out, which didn't help really sell it. But however, thankfully, Starfield has now come out and really kind of helped push it back in the right direction, kind of right the ship, if you will. Another bonus that Starfield showed Xbox that they can probably start to do quite a bit now is to have all first-party games have early access, just like Starfield did. Basically, pay a certain amount of money a little bit earlier as you're already subscribed to Game Pass and get to play the game earlier. It's a great business plan. Not so great for the consumer if you know exactly what's actually happening there with said early access, but regardless, it's a good business plan, and clearly they probably made a lot of money when they did this with Starfield, and they're already planning to do this with the next Forza game. So that should be pretty easy. Simply continue to improve the service, improve the rate at what first-party exclusive games release, and make sure that the cloud part of this works as intended. Cloud gaming is not the greatest due to the lag and internet connection not being the greatest in some areas. Aside from that, though, all is good, right? Well, not exactly. Over the last year, it's become known that Game Pass is not the greatest for big AAA games on release. It is a lot of money that is lost on those opening weeks for a lot of those publishers. It is absolutely amazing for AA and indie games. We have stated that here multiple times. I mean, heck, if a small team is able to get money from Xbox to put it out there and then get their name out there through reputation and everything, that's going to help them out quite a bit. Plus, it makes it super easy to download. If it's on the front page and it's kind of like the featured indie game of the week or something, then that's even better for the developers, and they're going to come back and potentially make another game and want to put it on the Xbox Game Pass and even on the platform itself. Big games, however, though, not so much. It seems as time goes on, Game Pass's reputation has gone from absolutely amazing to just, I guess, very good, which again is not bad or anything, but there seem to be some downsides that people either weren't thinking about when it first initially was released, or that information has now become made public and everyone's kind of talking about it. Another interesting document that leaked, however, was how much it would cost Xbox to get some of these big AAA games on the service. During 2022, due to some of the delays that they had to find a way to fill those spaces on Game Pass. So they had to try and go see if they could put some of these AAA games day one on the service. Keep in mind, the numbers you're about to see on screen were simply just two companies talking. Most of these, though, ended up falling through, or some of the deal was changed. Phil Spencer even said some of these AAA games would be a bad return in investments. Take a look at the screen here, for example. Suicide Squad and Mortal Kombat 1 were discussed to be about $250 million just to get it onto Game Pass day one. Think that's high? Xbox expected Rockstar to release the Red Dead 2, which never was confirmed by the way, during the final quarter of 2022. To secure that game, it was going to cost them $5 million per month. Wrap your head around that. $5 million per month. That is a lot of money. Now, I know Take-Two is greedy, but damn. Now, if you are wondering why AAA games don't particularly like this, it's because, again, you lose out on a lot of revenue depending on how much Xbox pays you to put your game onto their service. Again, this is why indie and AA games love to go onto the service, but for AAA games, they know they can probably make more money than that, because the moment you pass a certain amount of downloads, you realize, oh, we could have been making way more money like that. An example of this actually is Octopath Traveler 2. Octopath Traveler 1 was actually released on Game Pass after it had released on the PC and Switch for a while. Then it came to Xbox. However, for some strange reason, Octopath Traveler 2 didn't release on Xbox at the same time as Switch, PlayStation, and PC. However, thanks to Tokyo Game Show as of 2023, it is being released sometime in early 2024. However, it is not being released on Game Pass. It is simply going to be sold. So I wonder if Square Enix, aka the AAA company right now, is going to be looking at the sales from Octopath Traveler 2 and seeing if future games potentially go onto Xbox more. Xbox and Square have been in negotiations the last few years, and according to one side, negotiations are looking good. I mean, heck, you're getting Final Fantasy XIV, which is awesome. However, when you look at the showcase for Xbox during Tokyo Game Show, a lot of new stuff wasn't really announced from Square Enix. In fact, I was half expecting to see Final Fantasy VII Remake, but no such luck, unfortunately. So a lot of that might be coming down to the fact that Square is like, why would we put it onto a service when no one's actually going to buy our games? In a perfect world, you would subscribe to the service, get to play the game in the beginning, and then you'd go purchase the game to help support the developers. However, due to simply the time that we live in and how things work, that's not necessarily the case, unfortunately. Now, as much as we as gamers would love to have a place to play all of these amazing games for such a low price, the business side can't allow that. Even if you fully invested into Game Pass, some things rear their ugly head sometimes. Some games are just taken off from the service. Games can be delisted due to contracts. This is also why it's hard to get a lot of old games onto modern software sometimes, looking at music, cars, etc. Heck, if your internet is down, you can't download or update a game, making it unplayable, and other examples just like this. Heck, Forza, one of Xbox's biggest games right now, you can't even play the last few games except for like the last recent two. Now, a lot of that again comes down to rights and contracts, most likely due to cars and everything, but the fact that you can't play the first party Forza game from a few generations ago on the Xbox is a little weird. And yes, I know some people are going to go into the comments and say, hey, it's the older game. Why would I play the older game? Sometimes the older games are the better games sometimes. I know they've been killing it with Forza lately, but still, my point still stands. This is not just Xbox, by the way. PlayStation has been doing the exact same thing. Games can be delisted, and as of recently, there's actually a price increase of the service, but with no improvements. Sony got a ton of backlash on that. Doubt it will change anything, but we called them out heavily on the channel. Check out the video here if you want to learn more details about that. One of the things we mentioned beforehand was the early access part to all these first-party games. So if this continues, which by the way, trust me, it is going to continue because money, then you're either going to have to wait longer to play these quote-unquote day one games or pay more money just to play the game that you were promised that was supposed to be day one. Speaking of money and increases, by the way, to finish off this talking point, as of September 25th, 2023, Phil has said Game Pass will have a price increase in the very near future again. This was during an interview in Tokyo, Japan here at the Tokyo Game Show. Keep in mind, Game Pass just had a price increase this year of 2023. So that is 2 price increases when people don't have as much money to spend on this kind of stuff, and they are canceling more and more subscription services as the days go on. So the big question you might be asking is, what can Xbox do to make sure they hit their goal that they've set by 2030? While not perfect, I actually do have a couple suggestions that I think could potentially help them reach this. I really hope this isn't the make or break scenario that Phil is making it out to be from this quote. Again, I'm not sure if Microsoft has a gun to his head or anything, or if this is simply a way to sway the votes in his favor when it came to the court case. Not really sure. But here are my suggestions nonetheless. First, when you promise that a game is to be released on day 1, usually day 1, keep that promise. If it's really about the money in terms of that early access, here's another idea. Why not have a deal where if somebody pays a little bit of extra money, let's just call it a collector's edition, for example, then on the day that everyone gets to play, then someone who pays that extra money gets some extra cosmetics or something like that. Cosmetics have been monetized now for the last 10 years, and while I personally hate it, that is a way to bring in some extra revenue without pissing off some of the players on your fan base because, hey, you promised day 1, but technically it's not, because as you know, early access and day 1, they're the same version of the game. No amount of patches is going to fix it that much. My second suggestion is, now that the Activision deal is all but done now, stop buying more companies and start working on your games and your studios. Grow your studios. Now, I know every single company has done this. PlayStation has done it, Nintendo's done it, and Xbox has been doing it for years upon years, acquiring other smaller companies. The difference between 2 of those companies and another one is that 2 of them have allowed those smaller companies to grow and expand and really nurture those talents. And now some of those games are some of the best that you see in the business today. Xbox hasn't really done that, unfortunately. Obviously, I know some things have fallen through and not worked out the way they want to, but simply just going down the list of buying companies is not exactly the greatest thing to do. I mean, ask yourself, how many of those Activision games on Xbox are they really going to focus on? There's no way they're going to be focusing on all of them. Some are going to have to be on the back burner for a while. Well, I think I've got your top 3. COD, Overwatch, and WoW. Anything else, it's probably going to be a while till you see something. I know Phil talked about potentially bringing back games like Guitar Hero and such, but I already see 2 complications there. One, you've got to somehow get people to go out and buy those controllers again to play those specific games. I'm looking at the actual guitar and everything, or if you do Guitar Hero or the bands or anything, you've got to get even more stuff. And second is the music license. Anyone who's been in the music industry, you know that can be a major headache. That's going to be more cost that Phil's going to have to somehow say to the heads of Microsoft and be like, hey, so I need more money to do this to potentially make some extra money here. But he's not going to be making money off of the game because it's being a Game Pass. So unless those numbers are continuing to increase, that's going to be another problem. Also, what about games from Japanese companies? Last year, like I mentioned beforehand at TGS, Xbox had a great showing. They really did. And some of those announcements earlier this year were looking really good back in like June and things. But recently here at TGS 2023, the showing wasn't that good. So I hope some of the negotiations with these Japanese companies is improving and we can see some of that stuff going into next year as well. One last thing I'm going to mention that it's now in public and everyone's hearing about it now is how are relations going to change with Japanese companies due to the email from a few years ago saying that Phil wants to purchase Nintendo. Doesn't matter if it's old, by the way. That can be a very personal attack here in Japanese culture. Some people are not going to look fondly at that part. So I really hope Phil has an answer. Again, I don't know what kind of internal discussions between companies have been talked about personally, but I would definitely tread lightly, Phil, to not ruin some relations. Time will tell, though. One last thing I will say before ending this video, though, is there's a reason that a lot of people love Phil as the head of Xbox. Dude is a gamer. I'm sure outside of the office / not in front of the press, this dude would be the coolest guy to just sit down, have a beer, and chat with. And I assume he is. However, once business gets in the way, unfortunately, sometimes things can really change. I'm sure it's not the greatest position right now, business-wise, to make sure that Daddy Microsoft is happy, but also try to keep the fans happy. Looking at you, game preservation. I mean, for the last couple years, they've been going on and on about game preservation, and then when you see the leaks of their newest console and going all digital, it's starting to look a little hit or miss there. And again, not to mention that if games keep getting delisted as time goes on, that's even less preservation right there. Not exactly the greatest look. Time will tell though if the pressure of this 2023 timeline really starts to get to him. One thing is for sure though, Xbox has a lot to prove to a lot of people, and some of these leaks did not help with that. I personally do want Xbox to succeed, however, though. I don't want things to become stale if it's just Sony and then Nintendo doing its own thing. Xbox needs to pick it up, however, though. I know that they finally have bought a lot of these companies and they've said, look, if we can't get this stuff, then we're not gonna be able to compete. Well, you have the things now. Now it's time to show what your plans are. And simply focusing on Game Pass, I don't think that's enough. It needs to have solid content so people will stick around for the ecosystem. Some comments in the past few months have not exactly been the greatest in my personal opinion. Some people will agree or disagree on that, and that's completely fine. But Xbox, this is your moment now. And if that 2030 deadline is real, this is your final chance. Otherwise, we could see a huge change in the future of gaming. All right, I've said enough now. I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on all of this? Do you really think Xbox would drop out of the gaming area if this doesn't improve by 2030? Is Game Pass going to improve? Let us know all your thoughts down below in the comments. Also, if you enjoyed the video, we ask you to leave a like and sub to the channel. Both are free and it helps us out a lot, and we get to make more discussion videos just like this. If you want to have more discussions as well, make sure you join us during our live streams. We talk about this stuff all the time. Come by, hang out, and ask us a question. More than happy to talk about it. I've been Tallen with Direct Gaming. Thank you so much everyone stopping by, and I can't wait to see you all in the next one. Johnny.